Hey, what's up guys, this is Brad of Despitefitness, and I want to do a different kind of a video, something that I thought might be a little bit fun, and just a little outside the norm. So let me get right into it and kind of explain what it is that I want to do here. I was cruising around Instagram, and I happened to take notice of Terry Crews' Instagram page. And recently, about a week ago, he posted a video and of him deadlifting, and it's a great deadlift. He's deadlifting 5 plates for some reps. It's pretty cool. But in there, he asks, to the hardcore lifters, feels like something's not right. How can I improve my form? And so I just wanted to take a few minutes and take a look at Terry Crews' deadlift and do a little bit of diagnosis. So without any further ado, here, check out the lift. Pretty impressive for an actor and someone of his age. So yeah, take a look. All right, cool. So now that you've seen the deadlift, obviously pretty impressive, really by any standard, especially with Terry, how old he is. He's getting up in his years. He's not 20 anymore, but still, a 5-plate deadlift is pretty impressive, I think, by anyone's standard. So Terry, that's pretty awesome. I just wanted to take a minute and put a cut on this. Now, first and foremost, you'll realize that there's been a lot of people that have seen this, and certainly a lot of people that have replied straight to the Instagram post, some of which are some quite accomplished lifters themselves, but I just wanted to kind of have my own cut and do a little diagnosis of the video and talk a little bit about what we see. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's play this video. Great, so we see Terry getting set up and getting strapped in, and that's pretty cool. With him using straps, I'm a big fan of straps, especially as deadlifts get heavier, because for me, deadlift isn't really about grip strength per se. Now, one thing that I'm going to say here is looking at his shoes. Definitely not the right footwear to be wearing while he is he's doing this, right? So this footwear is more for like running, and so there's going to be a lot of cushion there in the sole, so bound to be a lot of compression. So he'd be better off with more of a New Balance Minimus, something without much of a sole, or even just going barefoot. So that's first and foremost. And you can see that he starts out with that roll. Now let's rewind here just a little bit. So he gets himself strapped in, rolls that weight out, and then brings it back into him. This tends to get people in a weird position where that bar gets super close to the shin. Now, positioning matters, especially when you're getting heavier and heavier. And so let's see if this causes any problems with him at all. So that bar comes back out, and then it's actually a pretty straight. It's actually a pretty straight pathway. So that's not bad the way that it comes up from how he started with rolling it out. But what I've noticed with people before is when they roll this thing out and then they bring it back into them and then launch right into the deadlift, sometimes they don't always control that weight, and that weight continues to swing back into them, and it just creates issues with balance and application of force. So Terry does a really good job here of being able to initiate and start pulling, and it doesn't really look like the bar does any traveling in much of a direction, away from him or toward him. So that's pretty good there. One thing that I might look at here too is his foot position. So you can see Terry's feet are pretty wide. So it looks to be, probably at or even just a little bit wider than hip width. And it looks like the knees might come in just a little bit as he's pulling right here. It looks like those knees might be coming in just a little bit, so a bit of a valgus collapse as it begins to drive. What I would do if I were Terry is I would look at moving my foot positioning in just a little bit and see if that doesn't improve what looks to be a little bit of knee collapse. Now, obviously, with this angle, it's hard to detect it, exactly. but it looks like there might be just a little bit of knee collapse as he begins to initiate right here. But again, a front on or immediately from the rear view would be better. But I might look to try to close his stance just a little bit. You can also see how forward he is in position, right? So you can see a lot of him is forward as he begins to initiate that pull. His chest is nearly, parallel with the ground. Typically, I would like to see the chest in a more upright position, and this is because it helps kind of utilize everything all at once instead of this 1-2 motion that you see. So watch this. So as he begins to pull, you're going to watch those hips rise, right? And so now he's nearly got his legs locked out, and he's still almost, parallel with his chest here. One thing that I think that he probably ought to do is try to get a higher, more upright chest position from go and get the hips and the chest rising at the same rate. So getting them to rise together versus the hips nearly, fully up and extended, and still this chest in this nearly parallel position to the ground. And now watch all this work his back has to do. That's all back right there. That's all back that Terry's working to kind of extend that weight out, and he's not getting much benefit off the legs. If he were able to get his chest positioned more upright and have his chest and his hips rise together in unison, could be utilizing a more synergistic approach with his musculature to be able to push more force. So kind of envisioning the deadlift as more of a leg press, vice this back extension, this very protracted back extension that you see. And again here, look, just the legs nearly fully extended, and the bar has just broken off the ground. And then now it's this very long back movement to get himself into position. Now, if you listen to the audio on the video, you can hear him, breathing out toward the top, and you can even see, you can see the abdomen moving here as he's breathing out. What I would probably suggest to him is maintaining a good abdominal brace throughout the duration, and then resetting at the bottom there. So, good deep breath here at the bottom, get himself reset, and then go all the way to the top, and then back down. This is where I would have him breathe out, reset, and then repressurize, do it again, versus trying to catch that breath at the top end of the movement like he's doing. So you can see here again, you see that abdominal movement. You can see that he's respirating at the top there. So I would prefer to have him hold his breath throughout the duration, the concentric and eccentric, and then set it down, take a pause, reset, breathe, rebrace, and then go again. So bracing might be a bit of an issue. Obviously he's very strong and doing quite well. These are some nitpicky things that he might be able to do to improve his performance. And then this belt here, you can see the belt that he has on. Now the belt looks pretty tight as he has it on here, right? So you can see the belt is pretty tight. Tightness kind of depends from person to person. It's more of a shooter's preference. But frequently, if a belt is too tight, people have a hard time getting a good abdominal brace. So people can make a flaw in having their belt too tight. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but I certainly would advocate a bigger, thicker belt, more of a powerlifting belt for Terry, especially if he's going to be moving such big weight. Just a bigger, thicker, heavier belt is going to provide him a little bit more force, of an object for him to be able to push against and get that kinesthetic cue to really brace the abdomen, his abdomen rather. And so, I'm not a huge fan of the belt that he has, but at least he's using one. So some equipment stuff, shoes, maybe belt. I might look to narrow his stance a little bit more from what he was doing. I would also seek to try to get his chest in a more upright position at the initiation. So I would seek to get his butt a little bit lower and have his chest be more here as he begins to initiate that deadlift. And so you can see this position here. So this is when he's about to stand up. He's starting to let go. But I would try to have him more in a position like this, upright, versus when he actually pulls, right? You can see, again, those the hips start to come up, and then you can see this very parallel, chest position to the ground. And again, that just creates a tremendous amount of stress and work for his back to have to compensate for him to get him fully upright and erect. So those are a couple of my tips for Terry. Different footwear, perhaps a different belt, narrow the stance, work on his abdominal bracing just a little bit, and make sure that he's breathing and holding that breath and resetting at the bottom when he's not under load. And then trying to get, like I said, that higher chest position. So yeah, so those are a couple of my tips that I think might be good for Terry to work on to increase his performance with the deadlift. I think it might make things more comfortable for him. I would imagine that in the backside of this session, he's probably experiencing some significant lower back tightness, and that's just because of how much tremendous stress that he put his lower back under during the execution of this particular movement. So I'd be interested to hear what you guys think. Do you see the things that I see? Are there other things that you see that I haven't caught? I'd be kind of curious, and it'd be pretty awesome if Terry ever saw this. But really, more than anything, this is just kind of a video that's a little bit of fun. Looking at someone that's famous doing something pretty cool, and the tips and the advice that I have for Terry might be beneficial for any one of you that are out there as well. So record your deadlifts so that you can see objectively how you're actually performing those movements, so that you can kind of see where your failure points are, in areas where you can clean up your mechanics, or areas where you're having issues muscularly and need to shore up weaknesses and things like that. You're never going to know if you don't kind of watch that and be able to kind of go diagnostically through a video to break that down like we've done here. Yeah, that's it. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop in the chat box below. I will respond. I appreciate you guys continuing to support me in the channel with everything that you do. Thank you so much. If you're a recent subscriber, thank you for being here. And if you haven't seen, if you've seen a few videos and haven't subbed up yet, I wish that you would. It'd be good to have you along, and I can't grow the channel without you. So help me get in front of some more eyeballs, and I'd appreciate that as well. That's it. Remember, guys, no matter what it is you think you can't do, do just a few small things to kind of clean up your movement patterns in whatever movement we're talking about. It's never going to happen if you don't get in and train despite. You're either going to find an excuse, you're going to find a way, and hope that you guys continue to find the way. Thank you for watching this one, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.